Wood rots, rivers destroy foundations, and floods can erase entire bridges overnight. Yet some wooden bridges have survived for more than 5 centuries, not as museum pieces, as functioning structures. So why hasn't their timber dissolved? And how can a bridge remain ancient when many of its parts are not? The answer is hidden inside a system of roofs, triangles, moving joints, and deliberately replaceable wood. These bridges survived because their builders expected them to fail, just not all at once. A wooden bridge appears to face one obvious threat: weight. Every cart, wagon, pedestrian and snowstorm pushes downward. The river attacks from below. Wind pushes from the side. But timber can carry extraordinary loads when those forces follow the direction of its grain. The more dangerous enemy is quieter. It arrives one drop at a time. If you enjoy discovering the hidden systems behind ordinary structures, subscribe for more stories like this. Wood does not decay simply because it becomes old. Decay needs the correct conditions: moisture, oxygen, suitable temperatures, and enough time for fungi to spread. When timber remains dry, the organisms that consume it struggle to survive. That changes the entire problem. Builders did not need to make wood immortal. They only needed to prevent it from staying wet. That is why many long-lived timber bridges have roofs and walls. The enclosure was not mainly built for travellers. It protected the bridge itself. Rain strikes the shingles instead of the structural trusses. Sunlight attacks replaceable siding instead of critical beams. Snow collects on a roof that can be repaired without dismantling the crossing. The structure visible from outside protects the machine hidden within it. But a roof cannot stop every drop. Wind drives rain through openings. Floodwater reaches the lower structure. Moisture gathers where timber touches cold stone. So builders created separation. Critical beams were raised above wet surfaces. Air was allowed to move around them. We often imagine an ancient structure as a frozen object. One construction date, one original set of materials. But that is rarely how survival works. A centuries-old wooden bridge is more like a living system. Roof shingles are renewed, floorboards wear out, pegs loosen, beam ends are repaired. Individual members are reinforced or replaced. Yet the larger pattern continues. The bridge survives by changing. Historic carpenters made this possible through understandable connections. The structure was assembled from visible posts, braces, cords, pegs, mortises and tenons. A damaged component could be inspected directly. It could often be removed without destroying everything around it. The bridge revealed how it worked, and because people could understand the structure, they could repair it. Its greatest advantage was not strength alone, it was accessibility. The roadway followed the same logic. Heavy planks absorb wheels, hooves, grit, and repeated impacts. When those boards wore down, crews replaced the surface instead of the structural frame beneath it. Some bridges added extra running planks above the main deck. These upper boards received the punishment first. The cheapest timber protected the most valuable timber. This was not accidental damage. It was controlled wear. This answers one of our opening questions. How can a bridge remain ancient when many parts have changed, because its identity does not live inside every original fibre. It lives in its design, its location, its craft, its continuous use, and the knowledge required to keep rebuilding it. A structure can remain itself while being renewed, but replaceable parts explain only how damage is repaired. They do not explain why the frame holds together. For that, we need triangles. Push sideways on a wooden rectangle and it becomes a diamond. Push on a triangle and its geometry resists the movement. Historic bridge builders repeated these triangles across the entire span. Diagonal braces redirected the load. Some members were compressed. Others were pulled in tension. Instead of asking one enormous beam to cross the river, the truss allowed many smaller members to share the work. Force was not removed. It was given a path. This matters because wood is not equally strong in every direction. Its internal fibres resemble millions of aligned tubes. Along the grain, timber can carry considerable tension and compression. Across the grain, it is more vulnerable to splitting and crushing. Good bridge design places each member where its grain can work efficiently. The structure becomes a partnership between geometry and biology. The design does not fight the material. It works with it. Traditional joints also permitted tiny amounts of movement. Timber swells when humidity rises. It shrinks as the air becomes dry. A perfectly rigid structure would resist those changes. Stress would gather around the connections. Cracks would spread. Wooden pegs and fitted joints can accommodate slight movement while preserving the bridge's larger geometry. Not loose movement, controlled movement. The bridge does not survive by remaining perfectly still. It survives by moving safely. But moisture was not the only threat. On August 18, 1993, fire tore through Lucerne's Chapel Bridge. Flames moved rapidly beneath its wooden roof. A large section of the landmark burned. Many historic painted panels were destroyed or badly damaged. Centuries of protection against rain could not protect timber from fire. And suddenly the bridge's survival system faced its most extreme test. Ancient did not mean untouched. It meant repeatedly rescued. The bridge was reconstructed and reopened the following year. That raises a difficult question. Was it still the same medieval bridge? Physically, part of it was new. But its location, form, surviving material, paintings, craftsmanship, and civic role remained connected to the older structure. Its survival was not the absence of interruption. Its survival was the decision to continue. The fire did not prove that repairable design had failed. It proved why repairable design mattered. The pattern is now clear. Keep critical timber dry. Move loads through triangles. Allow joints to flex. Place replaceable material where damage will occur. Then repair small problems before they become structural failures. None of these ideas is revolutionary alone. Together, they can outlast generations. Modern infrastructure often follows a different rhythm. Components disappear behind sealed surfaces. Small failures remain hidden. Repairs require specialized machinery. And one inaccessible defect can eventually force the replacement of an entire structure. Historic timber bridges offer another model. Expose the logic, separate the layers, make wear predictable. The old technology is not simply wood, it is maintainability. That lesson now matters far beyond bridges. Buildings create less waste when damaged components can be repaired instead of demolished. Infrastructure lasts longer when water has an obvious escape route. Modern sensors can detect moisture inside timber before decay becomes visible. New technology can strengthen an ancient principle. Do not design only for opening day. Design for the 100th repair. So why haven't 500-year-old wooden bridges collapsed? Some have, others burned, flooded or disappeared. The survivors were never invincible. They were sheltered, inspected, repaired and rebuilt by communities that refused to treat age as automatic failure. Their endurance comes from a partnership. Good timber, clear geometry, replaceable parts, and constant human attention. The bridge survives because someone keeps choosing to save it. The oldest wooden bridges survived because they were never truly finished. They were designed to change without disappearing. And perhaps that is the real secret of durability. The structures that last longest are built to survive losing pieces. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more hidden stories about the structures, landscapes and systems shaping our world. Which modern structure should be designed to survive for 500 years?